Hey, greetings everyone. I wanted to make a little video today and talk a little bit about discussion board posts and how to get the best grades on discussion boards and maybe some helpful hints on following instructions and getting everything right. Um, I talk about this in class about once a week, but the reason I'm doing a video is there's a lot of people that haven't been coming to class, so maybe if I do the video, you'll be able to get this information that you wouldn't otherwise get. Um, so what I want to do is take a look at the instructions for one of our discussion boards online, week number 7, about Paleolithic art. I want to take a look at our discussion board guidelines that are posted on D2L, and I'm going to show you some screen captures of some previous semester's work, because a lot of times we run into the same issues kind of over and over again. And I didn't want to point anybody's work out or make anybody feel uh, uncomfortable or like they're being picked on. So what I'm going to be showing you is from previous semesters. So this is not something that came from anybody in class, but we are getting a lot of the same kind of stuff. And so it's going to be good to talk about. Here we go. Hey, on D2L you'll find these discussion board guidelines under content. It's just some stuff to help you uh, have the best score on your discussion board. It includes things like writing complete sentences, try to use proper punctuation and spelling, just so people know what you're talking about so they can understand you. If you're using some words specific to a time period or a type of artwork, tell us what those words mean. And again, that helps us understand. Avoid one-word responses such as yes, no, or maybe, just because that's not really a complete sentence. And try not to use slang or acronyms. For example, if something made you laugh out loud, then just write that you laughed out loud. It would be easier, again, for us to understand. A really important one is if you choose to use a direct quote to help communicate your point, use quotation marks and cite the source. If you don't do that, it's plagiarism. So if you copy and paste something from the web, it can be part of your response. You still need to use your own words, and maybe you use that quotation to help make your point. Um, if you don't cite a source, if you represent that as your own work, it's plagiarism. And you're all college students, you know that plagiarism is bad. I'm sure it's not the first time that you've heard that. So that's one thing that we have to keep in mind when we're doing discussion board assignments. That's something that keeps coming up. Our assignment for week number 7 was to post 2 pieces of artwork dated before 10,000 BCE. And there's a note in there to remember that time counts down backwards in BCE. So something that was 3000 BCE, for example, would actually be after 10,000 and not before. And it was the goal to post things that are not in the textbook. Also, no repeat entries. So you do not get credit for an image that has been posted previously by someone else. That means that the longer you wait to do it, the less options you have, and you have to look at what the other students have posted, so that way maybe you can learn some things, hopefully, that you didn't know before. And isn't that the goal of taking classes? So when you post those works, you should answer a few questions. When was the piece created? What part of the world is it from? And what is the purpose or the believed purpose of the artwork? And if you don't know, that's okay. Just try to guess what it was. And that's perfectly acceptable to try to make a educated guess. And maybe it's based on stuff that we talked about in the class, or stuff in your reading, or maybe stuff you find online. Information about what that artwork was about in your own words. So that's the assignment. Let's take a look at some successful submissions for that, and some that maybe were not so successful. Hey, here's one. Um, there's a year on it. It says 8,000 to 10,000. Um, that's actually before 10,000 BCE. It's not after. Anyway, There's some text that says 20,000 years ago, Asian peoples crossed the Bering Strait between Siberia and Alaska, and it tells us some more about that. The end of this sentence is weird because it says they begin to diversify, period, red, period. Well, what does that mean? What's red? What's that got to do with anything? I don't know, but it's in there. And the practice of placing significant burials beneath earth and stone mounds is initiated. Well, when you read that paragraph, it's not just the sentence that says red. There's some weird things about it. It just doesn't seem like it's a student's own words. It seems like it's pasted from a website. Um, so if you were to select that text and then paste it into a search engine, you could press enter. And so if you highlight that text in the discussion board post and you press Command C, it copies it, and then you press Command V and it pastes it into a search box, and you can find this site. And when you go to the site, it's got the exact same words and it's got the picture that was posted. And by the way, the image that was posted doesn't really fit the criteria for the assignment because it was actually after 10,000 BCE, and it's plagiarism. In college, that's a serious thing, and you could get kicked out of college for doing this. I don't think I reported this particular image, but I could have, and another instructor might immediately report it, and then that would be the end of your college career if you did something like this. So it's not worth it. Just don't do it. It's so much easier just to do some research, post the image that fits the criteria, and then describe it in your own words. In the long run, it's certainly an easier way to go. Here's one that's pretty good. We see the image, it says this piece of artwork has been dated all the way back to 25,000 BCE, which is before 10,000 BCE. This piece of artwork was created in France during the Paleolithic era. The image shows two spotted horses, possibly their transportation. That's not bad, that's pretty good. Maybe the horses were their transportation. Hey, it could be. It's a good entry. It gives us the image, it gives us the correct date. It's the time period we're looking for. It's a summary of what the image might have been for in the student's own words, and it shows that they at least thought some about the image and what it might represent. It's fine. This one got full credit. Here's one that's excellent. It's excellent. It's well thought out. It's complete sentences. It's proper spelling, punctuation, grammar. It's really well written. It gives us a piece of artwork from the right time period that we're looking for, and it's a great description. It's very thoughtful, and it also cites a source, because what the student did was they got information from this website, they summarized it in their own words, and just in case what they said could be considered somebody else's intellectual property, they cited the source. Very good, very good. If I could give this more than 10 points, I would, but that was the maximum for the assignment. Very good entry. Here's a different entry. This one has a couple of potential problems. For one thing, it's a repeat of the last one that we looked at. So technically, it doesn't even count because a student posted it before. And it's got some other problems. It's titled Bison Licking Its Flank. Okay. The piece was created in 12,000 BCE. All right, that's the time period we're looking for. The piece is located in France, also in Europe. That's a little awkward because, well, we probably know that France is in Europe. Maybe we don't. That's okay. Now we know. Number 3, the purpose of the piece, spelled P-E-A-C-E, like give peace a chance, was to portray a deer neck turned licking its back. A deer neck turned licking its back. Well, it's not a deer, it's a bison. It's a bison licking its flank. So why is it portraying a deer neck? And how is a deer neck going to lick its back. It's weird. It's a weird sentence, and it doesn't really make much sense. That's kind of strange. So this one had a few problems. But it is in the student's own words. Um, no copying and pasting from a website, so I do appreciate that. Hey, here's one that's kind of interesting. It had an image with it. It worked for the assignment, but it says prehistoric cave painting of horses by an artist named Chauvet were very accurate to what modern day horses look like. The problem with that is that we don't know who the artist was. This was 38,000 BCE, 40,000 years ago. We don't know who the artist was. Chauvet is actually the name of the cave in which the painting is located. So it's not by an artist named Chauvet. It's the name of the cave. Um, Besides that detail, it's not bad. Um, it's pretty good. It is true that the cave was not discovered until many, many, many years later. Um, it reflected what the prehistoric humans actual saw in their natural environment. It might be better if it said actually saw in their natural environment, and specifically was depicting a leopard spotted horse. It's not bad, but it's just got a couple of problems, and I think with a little more attention to the research, and they'd figure out that it wasn't actually an artist named Chauvet, that it was the name of the cave. But not terrible, and it is good that the student put this in their own words instead of just pasting stuff off a website. It shows that they put some thought into it, and that's a good thing. Here's what appears to be a prehistoric carving of a mammoth. It says where the mammoth is from. It gives a cave. What part of the world is it from? Germany. When was the piece created? 25,000 BC. Okay, that's the time period we're looking for. What was the purpose or believed purpose of the artwork? To represent a mammoth. Well, uh, maybe that's not the purpose of it. I mean, it does represent a mammoth, but chances are the artist that created it didn't really think, hey, I'm going to represent a mammoth to represent a mammoth. Maybe that's not the real purpose of it. Its purpose might have been that it was used for a form of ritual magic. It might have been a good luck charm. It might have been something to be appreciated for its beauty, but it's not probably not accurate to say that its only purpose was to represent a mammoth. But hey, it could be. I probably give this 8 points out of 10. It gives us the image from the right time period. It tells us where it's from, when it was created, and at least a little bit about what's the believed purpose of it. So, hey, it's not terrible, and it's not plagiarism. So, that ain't bad. Here's another one. The second piece was created in Germany. CA means approximately 30,000 to 28,000 BCE. That's the time period after. It is believed that this piece was made to see the creativity of man. It is believed that this piece was made to see the creativity of man. That doesn't really make any sense. One way to think about this is when we're talking about the purpose of artworks, you could try to imagine what the artist might be thinking to themselves or motivated by when they were making it. And I can't really imagine a prehistoric artist saying, I want to see the creativity of man, so I'm going to make this thing with a human body and a lion head. It just doesn't make any sense. Um, and I would give this some points. I wouldn't give it a 0, but that sentence doesn't make any sense. It's something that you might want to go back and read over. A lot of times with your writing, and this might help out with a lot of classes, if you read out loud what you've written, you might think to yourself, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Maybe I can clarify that a little or maybe rethink it. This one is very special to me. It's one of my all-time favorite bad examples, and it's quite wonderful in a terrible way. There's a couple of images. Here's one of them. It depicts what looks like people fighting with samurai swords. It looks a lot like a Japanese woodblock print. It says these are both from ancient Japan before 10,000 BC. That's probably not accurate because woodblock prints like this, I don't think were taking place in Japan in 10,000 BC. In fact, I'm pretty sure that they were not. Um, they both portray people assassinating other people or things. Well, what do you mean they both portray people? Is that is a portray person a certain type of person? I don't know. They're assassinating, that's not a word. Maybe they meant assassinating other people or things. Well, you could assassinate another person, but you cannot assassinate a thing because it means to kill it, and you can't kill a thing because it's not alive. Um, so maybe they meant assassinating, maybe they meant something else. I don't know. Um, it shows how rough times were. Well, I'd say it was rough if you had people running around assassinating people and things. That's pretty rough. Think about this. Uh, you have a portrayal of people fighting with steel swords. Now, these swords are made out of steel. Paleolithic is the Stone Age, right? It's the old Stone Age. That's when tools were made out of bones or stone. They didn't have steel. They didn't have steel swords that they could make and then give to people to assassinate things, whatever that is. It's not accurate. Um, this would be an example of a post that this wouldn't get any points at all because, well, several reasons. I might give it 1 point for entertainment value because, as you might imagine, grading sometimes is not a lot of fun. And when you have a lot of things to grade, it gets kind of repetitive. And it's nice when you get something that's a little different, that's a little off the wall. But you, you're not going to get much credit for it because it's all wrong. It's all wrong. Um, it's all wrong. I hope that you'll watch this video, and I hope that it helps. I hope that it helps you understand the guidelines for the discussion board posts and how to get full credit for that. It's not difficult. I challenge you to take um, how about 15 minutes a week? That's not much for homework. 15 minutes a week to really seriously read over the instructions, make sure you understand what they say, do a little research, share something with us, and then look at what other students have posted. It's not difficult, um, and I think you can do it, and I think you'll get something from it. And really, the goal of these assignments is not to just make you do busy work, and because I want to try to take up your time. The goal is to allow you to teach yourself something and share it with other people. And it's my goal for the semester to try to teach you some things about art and maybe inform the way that you see the world, and maybe you'll think about things in a different way than you did before you came into class. That's the goal. That's the goal of education. Um, so I hope we can do that. And as a reminder, the discussion board posts that I used as examples, nobody in your class did it. This is from previous semesters. It's all anonymous. Once again, I'm not singling out anybody. I'm not picking on anybody. I just want to try to show you these things as examples, once again, to help you and to help you get the points and get the grades you want and achieve your goals in school and learn some things. Um, and I hope you can do that. I'll see you real soon, hopefully. Have a great day. Um, and that weekend's coming up too, it's not too far away. Bye.